on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Biz. I'm your host, Melly Mel, and today's guest, wait, before I get into that, this is episode 6. Make sure you check out the other episodes if you haven't already. A lot of great content on there, all right? Make sure you like and subscribe to the page so you can stay up to date with everything that we're doing over here, okay? Now, today's guest is former record exec Luther Clark. He was with Uptown, he was with Virgin, and he was with Columbia. Now, remember, Uptown was Father MC, Mary J. Blige, Jodeci. Virgin was the Rap-A-Lot days. And Columbia, well, the list goes on. All right, so let's get into it right now with Luther Clark. So Luther, what's been up, man? How you been?
Mel, I'm good, man. It's good to see you after all this time, man. You're looking well, the whole bit. I'm good, man.
Yeah, you look good too. So let's get right into it. How did you get into the music business? How'd you get into it?
Well, I didn't have to go the traditional way that a lot of people went through it. My cousin, see, I've been around the music business since I was a teenager. My cousin was the assistant to Bruce Lumvaugh, who at the time was the president of Columbia Records when it was under CBS Records. Okay, and then, so I was around back in the late 70s. I was around the music business. So I got a chance, because I was still a teenager, I was able to meet all the executives at Epic Records, at Columbia Records. So I pretty much had an understanding for the business. So yeah, so that's how I got my introduction. So, because I saw what interns had to do. And I said, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and then being a former athlete, we just had a certain criteria that we went by. And that was one of the things that I was like, nah, I can't do that. Like, you know, so that's why I said, you know, and I didn't even want to be honest with you. I wanted to coach after college. I wanted to coach basketball.
Right.
You see.
So what pushed you into the music business after basketball?
After being around it so much, and I got a chance to go in the studio with Sly and the Family Stone.
Wow.
I got a chance to meet the legendary Gamble and Huff.
Wow.
Okay, and you know, I got a chance to meet these guys. My cousin was good friends with them, and then she was cool with Sly.
Right.
And then she was cool with Johnny Mathis. So at a young age, I'm sitting in there in the studio watching these guys perform.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, not perform, but, you know, record their music in the studio.
Yeah.
But then as time went on, I said, I like this. But then there was a gentleman by the name of Jim Tyrell.
Okay.
He was the vice president of promotions back then for Epic of pop and urban.
Okay.
Dude from Harlem. And one of the things he told me was, he said, I don't think this business is for you right now, you know, because he saw how aggressive I was and the fact that I was really playing. At that time, I was in my prime playing basketball, looking to hopefully make it to the NBA, but knowing I had a long shot.
Right.
And so that's why when I finished college, you know, I didn't go right away into the music business, which I could have.
Okay.
But even prior to that, your audience may not have heard of this guy, but I came real close to working for Liberace.
Wow.
Yeah. But back in the 70s, Liberace made more money than Frank Sinatra, Neil Diamond. You know, he was one of the highest paid artists in the world.
Right. And
my ex-girlfriend, she was the vice president of signing artists for Radio City.
Oh, wow.
And Liberace he loved her. So, and his manager liked me. So, you know, we started talking and everything. And he saw, that I was in sales, but he saw that I was open and stuff. So he said, hey, how would you like to, come and co-manage, lead with me? He said, you know, I'll stay in LA and you'll be the one that'll be on the road traveling with him. And at first I thought he was jiving.
Right.
Then Mary told me, said, no, he's dead serious.
Wow.
You know? And then I could have went to work for Bill Cosby.
Wow.
But Cos, he told me this job, I said, this job is definitely not conducive for you. I said, why not? He said, because after shows, you're gonna have to pick up my drawers. And I looked at him.
You was like, this is definitely not for me.
Definitely ain't for me. You know? So
no,
you
thank
know,
you.
I went back to selling office equipment. And then when the time was right, I called Russell Simmons, because I knew all these guys before they were big.
Right.
You know, Russell used to walk around with a bag of records.
Wow.
And you know, that's how far. And then so I called Russ, and he had told me, he said, man, we just hired somebody. He said, check with Dre. And Dre is the late Andre Harrell. So I called Andre, and if anybody knows anything, if some of your audience have heard interviews in the past, Uptown Records was a dope record company. With all the negativity, people said that was because they were hating. I enjoyed my time with the label. And they had their own dialogue of dialect, of the way they talk.
Right.
So when I finally got Dre and I saw Dre out in the club, and he was like, you don't want to do this. You're an R&B guy. You're an R&B guy. And so I said, yo, Dre, I'm dead serious. Because see, I was running around with the #1 dude in radio at night in New York, the Quiet Storm, which was the late Vaughn Harper.
Right.
So everybody looked at me as
the R&B guy.
The R&B, they would, I can't say the word that they would say, but imagine the word starts with an N.
I know what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about. Your audience knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So they would call me the R&B N.
Right.
You know, because, you know, at that time, all the big time R&B artists, they all went through Vaughn Harper.
Right.
And so I'm running around New York, I'm running around LA, I'm going to conferences. So I told him, I said, listen, there's another side of me. And so after chasing Andre Harrell around for a month, and I go and see him. So after I went into his office and set up pleasantries, we stood through the pleasantries. He's like, all right. What's up? What can I do for you? Get to it right now. So I laughed. And then a week later, I get the phone call. And I got the job. Wow.
What was the first record you worked? Do you remember?
At that time, we had Uptown had a father MC. They had they were already on a Heavy D. They were on a Mary J.
Mm-hmm.
And then we was just getting ready to start with Soul For Real and the Lost Boys.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a heavy lineup.
Hey, my man, that lineup we had was incredible.
So what was your favorite artist to work at Uptown?
You know something, man? I liked Heavy because Heavy was a mature person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would say out of all of them, I liked Heavy the most, only because we had good conversations. He understood it. You know, Jodeci at one point was a little difficult.
I bet.
Okay, but then Big Moose, who was rolling with KC, I knew him from Queens.
Right.
So he told me, he said, nah, he said, trust me. And so then he set up me and KC went out to dinner
Okay.
because JoJo was fine, Darvin and Devontae were cool. Devontae was just a weirdo. He was just different.
Okay.
Okay. But everybody was talking about KC being a difficult one. And I'm gonna tell you, man, we had dinner that night, man, the three of us. And you know, KC just said, hey, man, I'm just like anybody else, man. He said, if Mook, if Mook, you know, the late Mook, good guy, he died from a heart attack. He said, if Mook say you cool, then you cool with me. And I had no problems out of him.
Wow. Everybody else did though. Yeah.
But see, the whole thing about it is what people don't do is they believe on what they hear.
True.
Instead of, you know, instead of getting to know the artist, because I was told a couple of artists were difficult. And to this day, when there's those artists that they said were difficult, we're cool.
Right. Wow. Huh. So how long did you stay at Uptown?
2 years. I would have stayed longer, but Seagram's had brought MCA. And on before, you know, on the money that they gave Andre was more than enough to run the company, the day, but Andre had no real concept of money. And so he'll do a project. If he didn't like it, he'll scrap it. That's $1 million that's down the drain. Then he would fly back out to LA, and reluctantly they would give him money because, you know, Uptown was making more money than MCA.
Right.
See, but then when he went back for more money, that messed up that P&L. See, I knew about P&Ls because I came from sales.
Right.
So I understood all about that. So it messed it up. So when the label would be in the black, but then when they have to go back and give him a couple of more $1 million, then it turned it from the black, it turned it into the red.
The red, right.
And so when MCA came in, they saw that. And then that's when they took the label from him, and they fired all of us. And then Heavy D was running the label. Yeah.
And you went, and then after that, where'd you go after that?
After that, I did some independent stuff. Jimmy Jenkins, J Love, who was our SVP, he took his money. He opened up a entertainment barbershop on 49th Street in the city. And he opened up his own marketing company, promotions. And so a lot of those records that Motown put out, because Motown put out a whole lot of records that year.
Yeah.
We were the ones, so we were getting a lot of money to market their records. And then Russell, you know, he threw us a bag. And so we were doing that. And then like anything else, it comes to an end. So when Motown eventually fired Andre, you know, the money dried up. And then I was doing some other stuff. And then I went, you know, to work with Gerald Levert at his label, Global Soul.
Wow, how was that?
Oh man, that was lovely. Because see, I knew Gerald personally. And so, and Gerald, what he wanted to do was, he wanted to start with the people that worked at the label on the urban side. He wanted to get people that he knew personally. So that way, because you know, he knew how the record business ran. His father taught him the business. So we had a good nucleus. But we had the chairman of it was a former SVP at Goldman Sachs. So that's how he was able to get all the money.
Yeah.
But they told him, before you do any type of mergers or acquisitions, first confide in us. And he's an arrogant dude. He's already a multi-millionaire and everything. Instead of him doing what they asked him to do, he goes and signs Dallas Austin's company, Dog. And so they came in and they were different. They wanted to spend money and all of that, where we were more conservative.
Right.
You know, And so it didn't last. And so about 8 months down the road, as a matter of fact, we were on a conference call and the office manager came in and said, the urban department is over. The pop department is going to be over in the next couple of weeks. And then the greatest asset the company had was this group called Tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pop group. They were selling a lot of records. The OJs was out, but the OJs wasn't selling a lot of records like Tool was. So BMG eventually they bought the label, but they didn't, they didn't need us.
Yeah.
And so so then after that, I went for a year down with Virgin.
How was Virgin?
Actually, Virgin was good.
Who at that time, who they have?
Nobody.
That sounds like easy money then.
No, what happened was Rap-A-Lot was signed to them.
Oh, right. That's right.
Rap-A-Lot, but they had Luther Vandross. He had left Epic. They had Janet Jackson.
Right.
They had these girls out of France. They had them. Then they had the Rap-A-Lot stuff. Oh, and Gangstar.
Gangstar, right. Gangstar was over there.
Yeah, Gangstar, and also EZ.
Wow.
See, so, but everybody was telling me that, Scarface was a beast and everything. And I mean, I listened to people, but at the end, me and Scarface became cool.
Right.
It got to the point that whenever he, used to be when we go out, when Scarface came because they moved me to Atlanta.
Okay.
So Scarface would come to Atlanta, Big B-Dub, which pretty much, he ran the street stuff. He would go out. But then after what, Scarface said, nah, I like Luther, because he wouldn't call me Luther, he called me Luther. I like Luther. So it got to the point that when B-Dub was back at the hotel sleeping, I'm closing down one strip club, and then we go into the Blue Flame, and the Blue Flame closes at 5 in the morning. And then I had to be back. Then I had to take them back to the hotel. Yeah. Then I get home about 6:15. Then I gotta be up by 9:30 because I gotta be in the office at 10 before I go and pick them up.
Horrible.
So that the time that they would come to the A for that week, yeah, I'll be like, oh my God, I couldn't wait for them to go home. But me and Scarface to this day, we're cool.
Yeah.
We're cool, man, and then they had some artists that really, they had Tila.
Mm-hmm.
But Tila, after that Sure Enough album, the other albums, the two, I think it was one or two, wasn't as good as that Sure Enough album.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that album. Yeah.
They had Yuck Mouth.
Yep.
The Ghetto Twins.
Yep.
What's his name? Big Mike, I think it was.
Big Mike, yep.
Yeah, so, but they were all cool though. That's the thing, they all was cool. And then, everybody would talk about, Jay Prince.
Yeah.
But Jay Prince was cool.
Yeah, no problems. That was
no problems.
As far as partying, you think that was the most partying you did at that label?
No, I did, man. Nah, man. I did, something, man. I was a party animal
before
I got into the music business.
Yeah, so you was ready.
Ready, man. Because see, you gotta understand, Uptown, I used to go to a lot of Uptown parties when I was in corporate America, see, because I knew all them guys.
Right.
I knew Andre. I knew Russ. You see, so I was hanging out, and then you gotta understand, the Quiet Storm. So everybody was inviting Von Harper to different parties.
You was right there.
I was right there. So
Yeah.
I would go to them parties, man. I went to like Nick Simpson, Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson would have their parties. Luther Vandross would have private parties.
Yeah.
I went to parties with Sting. I went to the Police, Phil Collins.
And everybody was trying to get their song on a Quiet Storm then. So
See, those guys, Phil Collins and Sting, I met them through my friend Mary because she booked them for Radio City. So that's how I met them. You see? So, you know, with Sting, you know, Duran, all of them guys came through Radio City.
Right. So you was already
and everybody loved Mary, bless her soul. She's now deceased, but everybody loved her. So I would go with her, and you know, then I got a chance to see how the pop artist party and the urban, and everybody was still wild.
Yeah.
It wasn't no real difference because everybody was wild. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So when did you get to Sony?
I got to Sony in 99.
Okay.
February of 99.
How was that ride?
It was good, bad,
And ugly.
And ugly.
So why was it ugly?
It was ugly because, you know, you had racism within the company. Even though they try to disguise it, you would have racism. You just had to knew how to handle it. And that's what really made it ugly. You know, like we get an SVP, like seemed like we would get an SVP like every 2 years, where on the pop side, their SVPs was there forever.
For 100 years, right?
It wasn't like we weren't breaking records, you know what I'm saying? And then you look at a guy like Michael Malden, JD's dad.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, he set the record for the most money in a year by any artist at Sony. So our fiscal year runs from from April to the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now by September, we were already at budget.
Wow.
So from October to March was nothing but pure profit.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at how much my bonus is gonna be, and you know, it might be almost as what I make for the year.
Right.
Because you know, we were still selling a lot of records. Well, Mike's contract was up. So we're thinking, okay, Mike is gonna still be there, but you know, they didn't renew his contract.
So there wasn't no bonuses.
No, we still got our bonuses,
Okay.
but Mike got let go. That's why JD left Columbia and he went to Virgin, because when his contract expired,
Got it.
he just left because he didn't like what they did to his dad.
Yeah. So he started my business somewhere else. Gotcha.
Right. And then Columbia Records was called, when I got there, it was called Columbia Black Music. But then when Mike left, then they changed it to Columbia Urban Music. See, so anybody that was at the label, you know, you can feel it, you can sense the racism that was there.
Yeah.
So,
but when do you think so do you think the fun is gone? When do you think it left? When do you think the fun in the business left?
Well, the fun in the business left around 2010, because that's when Sony, they bought me out.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like a job then. You know what I mean? Because different people that were still at the label, at different labels, would say, hey man, the only thing they didn't do was mess up with their money. But they took away a lot of money from their expense accounts. and stuff like that. Even when I talk to cats today, they travel, but they don't have the budgets that they used to have. And labels now are making money.
Yeah.
They're making money now due to streaming.
Right.
They don't rebound it, but still, they don't spend money like they used to. Even when they sign an artist now, it's totally different than it was back then.
Yeah. My next question was, how do you see the future of the industry? So everything is streaming now, not copy sold, right?
Well, they're doing both.
Okay.
They're doing both. But I just think now, the way things is going, I think the unsigned artists are in really good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 2020, unsigned artists made $1.2 billion.
Wow.
Right. And then I was talking to, I can't remember who it was. Damn it, I can't remember his name. But he said the unsigned artists did better than the artists that were signed to labels last year.
And that's funny because my next question was, do you think an independent artist still needs a major record label to survive? So the answer seems like no.
No. I mean, and I tell people, look at Chance the Rapper,
Mm-hmm.
look at Lecrae,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Even Sean Kingston, before he signed with Epic, he did okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then Justin Bieber was about to do okay
Mm-hmm.
before I think Justin Bieber, I think Usher got a part of him.
Yeah, he found
Okay,
himself.
but Justin Bieber's numbers was starting to look, if he didn't sign with them, Justin Bieber would have did all right.
Independently, yeah.
Independently.
Yeah.
You see, so I think that a lot of these independent artists, they getting it, they understanding what they got to do, and it's like remember what, not Star Search, remember American Idol, remember that Asian guy,
Mm-hmm.
maybe about 10 years ago from Seattle,
Yep.
Bam Boom, whatever his name was, the buck teeth dude.
Yep, I remember him.
He went all the way to the semifinals. That was TV, but that was what you do on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
See, like what you do now to market yourself on the internet, he did that. People voted for him. That's why he stayed around so long as he did.
Yeah.
See, and if the internet was out back then, he'd have been a sensation.
Yeah.
See, because I go surfing sometimes, and I'll see something on there, and I'll check it out. The music is horrible, but then when you look, the views are ridiculous.
Yep.
And that's all YouTube looks at. That's all IG looks at. And if he gets enough views, he gets a check.
Yep. So do you think, like, and I'm sure the answer is, I probably have the answer, but do you think the majors are signing people? They don't even care how it sounds anymore. When they see the streams up, the followers up, everything up, you think they're like, let's go get this guy or girl?
I think that's what they're doing. They may not never admit it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's what they're doing. Because I know, talking to a couple of A&Rs that used to be at labels that are now doing things like with Empire and over there with what's that other company? The other independent company.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were telling me, because I knew a couple of guys that left major labels because of all the BS that they had to go through.
Yeah.
And these guys are Grammy-winning A&R guys, and they said, "Wait a minute, I don't need this.
Yeah, I do it myself, right?
They can go out and do it themselves."
Yeah.
See,
All
that's
right.
why I think LA never went back to another label. He got investors, and they put up, I think, 75 million for him to start Hitco.
Yep. Exactly. And they're doing okay.
Doing okay.
Yep.
Same thing with Pharrell and KP.
Mm-hmm.
They got their artists and they going through Empire.
Yep. Empire came out of nowhere too, right?
Exactly. See, and then you got Orchard, Sony.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's where Lecrae went.
Yep.
See, Lecrae, a lot of people don't realize, but when Lecrae came out about 4 or 5 years ago this month, he sold 40,000 pieces the first week.
Mm.
The labels couldn't believe it. Here it is, they putting their big machine behind it, their money. Lecrae did not get not one spin on commercial radio. And he sold 40,000 pieces, man, the first week. Crazy.
Which leads to my next question. Do you think artists still need radio?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Okay. I was always told that it doesn't matter if the radio is a reporting station or non-reporting station, it has a stick.
Right.
So there's going to be some people that's going to listen to it.
And it's exposure.
And it's exposure, exactly.
Right.
So
Right.
I would say yes, but what you have to go through to get it, if you're an independent artist, I would say no, because you got 1,001 internet stations that's out there.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you got social media. So if you're constantly on TikTok and Twitter,
Yep.
and Snapchat and IG and Facebook, and I'm probably missing one or two, if you're constantly on there, people are going to hear about you, you understand? And they're going to recognize you, see? Because see, back in the day, they had stations that were non-reporting stations.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't give them music to give away. However, I always found a way. If they helped me break a record, I would always find a way to give them music.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whether it was singles or CDs was almost impossible, but if it was singles, and guess what? A lot of those stations that weren't reporters, they remembered that.
Yep.
So when a program director say that was there, and he moved into a market, or then for some reason, I get moved to that market.
Yep.
Whatever my name, when they would say, well, who's the rep? A lot of times those PDs would call me.
Yep.
They say, hey man, I'm in this market. You know, I got you.
Relationships, that's what it's about.
Exactly. You see? And then even if they weren't reporters, if I was in that market, it was maybe if the ride was no more than maybe 30, 40 minutes, I might drive out my way and I still would take them to dinner.
Yeah.
See? And I would tell my boss, I was like, listen, man, you're going to see this. You know, when you look at the radio station, you're going to see it's a non-reporter. However, they got a stick in that market. They got about 20, 30,000 people in that market.
Mm-hmm.
They still, because they've sent me video of when they have a party, how the gym, the club is packed.
Yep.
They have the station's banner
up. Yep.
So my boss told me, they said, listen, that's your market. You do what you think is best for your market.
Yep. Do what you got to do.
You feel me? So yeah, man. So it's like I said, it's like a yes or no.